To the April 1st Town Board Workshop meeting at 7 p.m. Roll, please.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes. Here.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Here.
Perez?
Here.
Morris?
Yes.
Samoji?
Here.
Hey, all present.
Okay, now we'll be doing an affordable housing survey status with Leo Blackman and Damien.
Wow. Thank you. We have, the survey closes tomorrow. And we have, last I looked today, 189 online responses and 6 paper responses. The online responses need to be scrubbed, which means that there are a number that are duplicates. I think people just hit the button too many times. So I would guess while we're at 195 right now, we'll probably end up at about 170 tomorrow. Maybe there'll be a few more that come in. Do you want to talk about statistically what that means, Damien?
Yeah, sure. Victoria, do you mind if I share my screen for a second?
Go ahead.
All right. So let me start by saying that I actually went to school for this. I was a sociology major and I focused on quantitative survey methods, and we did survey design, we did statistical analysis and I legit have never used any of that college work ever in my life, ever until this particular moment in my life. So for everybody who's out there saying you never use any of the stuff you learn in college ever in your life, well,
You always use it once.
jokes that you use it once. Don't go into debt for something you're going to use just once in your life. All right. So here, I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll talk about a few things. So for starters, once we have all of the results into the portal, we're going to see something similar to this. And as Leo mentioned, we have 189 responses. We have a bunch of pie charts that show where people live and what they do. And we'll be able to understand sort of a broader picture of all of the responses. Every single response was anonymous, as you guys know, and that was indicated at the head of the survey copy. And so folks that are out there that might be worried that this is somehow traceable back to you, or you might be worried about just being honest with your local town government, you shouldn't worry about that, because it's not traceable back to you unless you want us to contact you about any future actions. And then at the very end, you're given a place where you can enter your information if you want to hear more, but it's not mandatory and you don't have to, and there's no way for us to trace this back to any individual respondent. So 189 responses, is that a big deal? It's not. Look, we have, and town board members, correct me if I'm wrong here, about 4,200, 4,300 residents in the town of Amenia.
Yep.
Sound about right?
About right.
44.
44, yeah.
44?
Yep.
Vicky, we sent out 2,200 postcards, roughly, right?
Yeah.
So that's how many addresses there are, and then obviously you have multiple people living at one address, and so that's why there's more residents than there are addresses. But we're going to use those two numbers, 4,400 and 2,200, to try and understand if the response that we got to the survey was representative of the population at large. And social scientists and statisticians, they use a pretty simple formula for that. By the way, we have some, I am not like a PhD data scientist or anything, but we do have a couple of those folks who live in town, and we could tap them if we wanted to help us understand some of this. But I'm going to share this. share my screen here, and we will. All right, I'm just going to share my screen on hold. All right, you guys can see my screen. So
going to be something that will be talked about in town meetings in the future. And I want to make sure we know what people's concerns are. You can see a little of that in this survey. Some of the questions we asked about people just talking about housing more generally. And it's really interesting to see that, both positive and negative responses. But again, I just want as many people who are able to participate. And I should also note that there are paper versions of the survey at Town Hall in a box just to the left of the front door, which you can pick up, fill in, and drop off right there. So people who may not want to do it on a computer can do it that way. So we try to make it as accessible to people as possible. And I just, again, want to make sure no one's left out. But that's where we are in terms of the survey. And I guess the next things we're going to try to tackle on the housing board is figuring out how to have a public meeting to present these results. We will inform you as soon as the extended survey is over, and we'll give you that information. But we'd like to be able to figure out a way to get that to the town, whether it's an open meeting, a Zoom meeting, or actually maybe by then we will be beyond Zoom meetings. But we just want to figure out what the best way is to present that information and get responses that we can listen to from residents. So
we'll leave it on the website as long as you want it on there.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate that, and thank you for helping us along with this, because we're pretty excited to have sort of some database that we can use as we go forward. And that's all I've got, I guess. Any questions?
Anything else, Damien?
Sorry?
Sorry, Vicki, go ahead.
So I'm just reading online right now how to avoid unduly influencing it in a certain way. We noticed that there was only one respondent in Spanish,
Right,
who preferred the Spanish version. And so we were thinking that we would really like to hear from the Spanish-speaking population we know exists here in town, and want to make sure their concerns for housing is heard here. But I'm also understanding that we shouldn't target specific people, right, Damien? You shouldn't go out and try and look for younger people or people necessarily who might skew the results. Is that correct? That's too complicated.
Well, if we had a way of ensuring that every resident in Amenia could only respond to this once, then, we could go out and target groups that had not yet responded in the same, frequency that other groups had. We don't really have that in this because we went out of our way to make it anonymous, to make it something that people felt comfortable voicing their opinion with. So, with the Spanish language thing, I know we went through a lot of trouble to also post all the questions in Spanish. Shout out to my dad, who volunteered some of his time to translate, because my Spanish is garbage. But I would also say that, just because we only got one response in Spanish doesn't mean that we didn't have representatives of that community respond. Many of the folks who speak Spanish in our community also speak English. They might just feel comfortable in either. So, I think that the percentage of the population in our town that solely speaks Spanish is likely relatively small, but who knows? I mean, it's a good point. And when we write up the report, based on the results that we get after this, highlighting something like that is definitely an important thing to highlight. Vicky.
The bigger issue for me is just that I know that like young people with families are less likely to participate because they have so much going on in their lives that they have to deal with. Again, I just want to try to do a little bit more outreach because I know that it's more difficult for certain groups than others. I mean, obviously I'm a retiree, so I was able to fill it in. But I think that time becomes a big issue for people. And I think we've made it as easy as possible to respond, but I just, again, don't want to miss anyone.
Right. So my point of this question, because we had talked about that before, was how, if we are given an extra 2 or 3 weeks to keep the survey open, is it best to avoid targeting a specific group that we feel is underrepresented, or to go on the radio and maybe, blast it out in a wider thing? I certainly know I get asked by pollsters all the time by the phone to fill out a survey. So there must be a method of working hard not to skew. I don't know if they pull names or phone numbers out of a hat or something like that, but it is, what do we do as committee members in the next 3 weeks?
I think the radio is a good idea. We could do this we could put it out on Facebook again. Any assumptions that we make about who might be underrepresented either come from information that people are volunteering, like Leo mentioned earlier, about like the general age range that the respondents who took the time to do it fall into, or some are just, us divining that we didn't reach enough Spanish-speaking folks because we only had one Spanish form response. So I think just our goal should be just get it out there to as many people as possible.
Got it.
I should mention, Victoria, that part of the strategy was actually delivering flyers to employers so that people who work in Amenia but may not live in Amenia now, may not be able to afford to live in Amenia, are aware of this. I actually want to check back with the housing board in terms of whether everyone was able to make those drop-offs. But again, I just want to make sure really we've covered all the bases that we said we were going to at the beginning. And
that's an important group, Leo, because
I'm sorry?
that is an important group of people who this would apply to. So those are people who don't necessarily live in Amenia, but they work here. And, our postcards went out to all the residents. Our Facebook outreach went to the local community Facebook page. I don't know how many people work in Amenia, don't live here, watch this meeting on TV, but we don't broadcast on cable access outside of, our town. So they'd have to watch it on YouTube. So whatever we can do to reach people that don't live in Amenia but have an interest in Amenia, meaning they work here, or they have relatives here that they want to live closer to, whatever, anything we can do would be helpful.
Okay. So that's all I got.
Well, thank you very much for coming on and talking to us about the affordable housing survey, because affordable housing certainly is a timely issue, especially during this pandemic. And anything else you need from us for support, just let us know, because we're all in this together.
Great. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening, everyone. And thanks for, putting me at the head of the line. I appreciate that. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.
I think I'm in.
Yes, you are. A little noisy, but you're in.
Hang up your phone.
So you're
Alright.
in now, Jim?
Well, he's on
Okay.
mute. Jim, your computer's on mute.
Okay. Okay, then we'll do the supervisor's report. Lavelle Road Pump House upgrade. Upon recommendations from town engineer John Andrews to put all wells at the Washington Court site In addition to not rebuild the Lavelle Road pump house at its current site in the wetland, the town board will seek proposals from hydrogeologists. Altice negotiations are in progress. American Rescue Package. Supervisor Perotti attended the Association of Towns conference call on March 25th. The town of Amenia is projected to receive $480,000. 50% of the allocated amount is scheduled to be sent to New York State 60 days from when the bill was signed. New York State has to distribute the funds in 30 days, but can get 2 more 30-day extensions. However, will not be allowed to attach additional requirements or fees. The town will receive the other 50% in 12 months after the first date the initial payment was sent to New York State. Town of Amenia COVID-19 coronavirus. The Amenia Town Hall will remain closed, but will be available to departments by appointment. Department extensions are posted on the front door. There is also a doorbell to the left of the main door. Each department is also available by phone, mail, email, and secure lockbox on the building to the left of the front door. Town board and other meetings will be held by Zoom until May 6th, when town board meetings will resume in person with social distancing protocols in place. Public comments for town board meetings can be made by email or mail sent to the town clerk, who will read them at the meeting. Court in-person appearances have resumed. The vaccine information can be found on the front door, channel 22, and on the website. Sign up on www.dutchessny.gov/vaccine info form, or call the Dutchess County Coronavirus Information Line at 845-486-3555. Select option 1 to hear the weekly vaccine allocation updates, then select option 2 to be connected to the Office of the Aging and added to the notification list. There is also vaccine being distributed by pharmacies and large medical groups. The town hall will be open to modified recreation activities with all COVID-19 protocols in place. In addition, the Recreation Commission and other committees will be able to meet in person as long as COVID-19 protocols are followed. Please continue to wear face coverings and be mindful of social distancing. Also remember not to touch your face, wash your hands often, and use hand sanitizer. Be well and stay safe. Town clerk report.
Good evening. I begin the report this evening with our minutes of January and February. I do acknowledge Councilwoman Doyle's comments for our January 21st, adding in Eli's last name and title. So it's Eli Castro, Resident Engineer of Transportation and Infrastructure for WSP. We added that in on page 3 of the January 21st minutes. Has everybody had the opportunity to review the rest?
Yes.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the January 21st, 2021 minutes as described by, as presented and corrected by the town clerk.
Second.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Morris. Jim, you're on mute. We can see that you're on mute. Samoji, while we're waiting for him to hit unmute.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to give him a second to find.
There you go, Jim.
Okay, I have not read those minutes.
Okay. So are
I
you
guess I'll have to abstain.
abstain? February 4th.
I do have one correction also on Stacy's name. It's S-T-A-C-Y.
And that's where I was going to say that because I've already printed it and made that change. So I had an EY instead of just Y. So I wanted to also thank Vicki. I was getting there. I was doing like I was.
I'm sorry. I wasn't sure you got it. Okay.
No, I did, and I changed it. Yes, see
Dawn Marie,
that.
Dawn Marie, when did these minutes get published?
Earlier today, along with the report for tonight's meeting.
Okay, that's why I haven't seen them.
Okay. Do you want me to hold, or did others have the
I'd
opportunity?
like you to hold. I'd like to read them.
Okay, is that all right with the rest of the board then?
Yes.
Just
Yeah.
shaking their
Yes,
head
that's
is
fine. That's fine.
All right, so then, there you go. So we're gonna move on, but just to acknowledge, should anybody want copies, they are available January 21st, February 4th, and February 18th, and then also your March ones, but been so busy with taxes, I just haven't been sending them to you, so they're here in the office and available to the public at any time. So we're just gonna table the 4th and the 18th. Okay, so our local share has been remitted to the supervisor as of this date. For the month of March, town, state, and our local revenue was $566.25, with $563.25 being remitted to the supervisor. Total taxes collected through March 31st, $5,566,941.10. In addition, we have received penalties totaling $3,703.56, with the remaining uncollected $844,171.11. The extension has been signed off by the supervisor. At this time, I did request her to authorize me to collect taxes through the 1st of June. So we're going to continue to collect taxes here at the local level. And we get to keep those penalties by doing so. We had advertised in the town clerk's office for a concession stand. The RFP went out for the concession stand. We received one. I'm going to open it here online. So we've received one request from Jerry Heisner. He has filled out the paperwork, he has signed it, and the bid amount is $200. He also adds in a comment: to whom it may concern, I have 40 years of food experience. I'm a Board of Health certified. I also have worked at Wetuck Central School District in transportation for the last 18 years. Thank you for your time. And it does have the entire packet and the non-conclusive certificate signed. So he has everything
So
in the
it's a
packet.
complete packet.
It's a complete packet, and it's the only packet that was received.
I guess we should accept this application for $200 from Jerry Heisner.
Doyle.
I'd second that.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilmembers Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes,
Smoji.
Yes.
We also had advertised during the same period was lawn mowing bids. We've received 3 sealed bids. Okay, our first one is Smith's Landscaping, Dover Plains, New York. And the bid amount is $30,000 even. The next one is Kindred Property Care, $27,755. And the third, John Palucci, DBA Pelch Caretaking, in the amount of $48,000. So that would make your low bidder Kindred Property Care, LLC.
They've been doing our mowing before for us,
handful of
right?
years. Yeah, I believe the last 3-4 years, and he's also doing our snow removal. So I have his insurances already on because he does them for the entire year. So whatever the date was, I have to pull it, but I know I have all his stuff.
I authorized the acceptance of Kindred Care for $27,755 for the mowing.
I second it.
Oh. Supervisor Parodi,
Yes.
Council Members Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Samoji.
Yes.
Thank you. Also in our packets, and I received from Katrina earlier today, the monthly report for the building department. She does indicate that the March monthly building has collected for permits total of $25,057 for 23 new building permits. They're also continuing with their C of O searches, and this month they completed 9 searches totaling $1,200. In addition, there were 2 tent permits of $175, along with 3 renewals of $625, bringing the monthly total for the building department for the month of March, $26,882. And Judy will follow up if there's any zoning reports to which I've not received. And that concludes actions, but I do have a public comment that I did receive, and I'm putting her under public comment because I wanted to touch base with the board on how you wanted to move with this. Stacy Mantle reached out to me, and she did indicate, as we know, Stacy Mantle submitted her volunteer application. She is seeking to be on the Broadband Committee. That committee has not yet been established. Having that it's not been established, it's not a committee that the board has authorized for me to go ahead and do advertisement for to fill open positions. But at this time, she's requesting that if she can reach out to WHDD and make an announcement if there is a committee, that there is a committee forming and that they have to somehow contact the town. And she wants to know if this is something that is possible and how it's been handled in the past. In this office, the position that I have is that I only make announcements or send things to the Millerton News because they are our legal paper when they are a formed committee. And as we know, this isn't a formed committee. So I'm reaching out to the board for guidance to see how you want to have this advertised when we have one individual looking to create a committee.
If she's going on the radio, she can have people contact her. And if they want to pursue forming this committee, they can fill out an application. Because there has to be at least 3 people before we can form a committee.
I agree with that. As a private citizen, she's obviously free to advocate for the formation of this committee publicly. You know, she's not a town volunteer but I think that for us, for the town board, if we want to consider the formation of this committee, we can do so. I think that I personally would benefit from having an understanding of what this committee's goals would be, what would its purpose be, and just having a simple like mission statement and understanding of what I've heard plenty about the Pine Plains. I've sat in some of their meetings. They have a fundamentally like different challenge than we do here in Amenia because, they just don't have, they have a large percentage of their town population that's not served by broadband at all. So I think I would just like to know, it would be easier to have the conversation about the merits of forming this committee if we had some understanding of what the goals were.
Well, according to our committee guidelines, there have to be at least 3 people who are interested in forming the committee. And then they could bring what they wanted to do and the purpose of it to us to move forward.
But just because there are 3 people who want to form a committee doesn't mean that we as the town board authorize the formation of the committee, right? Like we have 3.
Well, no, they have to
No.
come before us and explain, why they want to do this and what the goals are. But if she wants to go on the radio and see if there's any other interest in serving on a committee, should we approve it, then, she's more than welcome to do so, but they would need to contact her directly.
So we already have a group of citizens. Unfortunately, the group of citizens that have been the most vocal during these Altice contract deliberations, they have already said what frustrates them in no uncertain terms, but Stacy's the only one with the time to serve. But they have enunciated very clearly to the town board that they don't appreciate the quality of service that we're getting, the cost of the service, and they're concerned about, the technical expertise. You call a technician and the pathetic service. Nina has said how horrible it is to be on the trying to make a correction to in a service and just being put on hold all day long for her mother's email, I think, got disconnected. At any rate, we know what the issues are. Stacy's willing to represent us.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Vicki.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're talking 2 different things here.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
A broadband committee is looking into actual infrastructure and providing another choice. It's very complicated and detailed. Damien, you probably speak to it better because you've been attending some of their meetings.
Yeah, we wouldn't form a committee. For folks out there, and I'll just say this directly to the general public, if you have problems with your current service provider, there are a number of mechanisms for you to deal with that. Obviously, you can call and complain to the service provider, but if that's not sufficient, the New York State Public Service Commission is absolutely the #1 place that you should go to file any complaints you have. If you feel like your complaints to your service provider are not being heard, you should go to the state. We, as the town, have very, very limited means we can't enforce pricing, we can't enforce service. Broadband itself is, by federal statute, completely unregulated. So we have no ability, we have no power, we have no juice over anybody who provides broadband in the town of Amenia to address a lot of the things that people complain about. Your #1 stop should be the State Public Service Commission if you have complaints that are not being addressed by the service provider. And we as the town board, we wouldn't want to form a committee that was, Vicki, I don't know where we're going with that, but it's like we wouldn't form a committee just to chase the complaints about a private company, right? Like that's not within our mandate.
No, I think some towns, some renegade towns have taken it upon themselves to put in infrastructure themselves.
Yeah.
And that is a radical decision, but it is something that small rural towns have done and succeeded. But not that, I would recommend it. It's just that, the more citizens can educate themselves about an issue that affects a lot of people, affects a giant portion of their income, the more they can learn and understand options, even if they're pretty far-fetched. They need to understand what their options are, in my thoughts. But if it's not appropriate that the town board help to support that kind of research and thought process, then we shouldn't encourage citizens to think about those things.
No. What you just described is fundamentally different than complaints about the current service provider, right?
Well, the cost and service would be changed if if the town of Amenia decided it's an infrastructure, a utility that isn't being served properly by the current options, and we decide to lay the infrastructure ourselves at giant costs. I mean, Pine Plains is considering it, right? I mean, last I read, I'm only transiently watching what they're doing, but they are considering some pretty radical, ideas, and there is money for infrastructure, right? There's broadband money that, that's one thing that Delgado has said over and over again, and it behooves the citizens of Amenia, if a good portion of their budget is going towards a faulty cable service that they don't like, they should know what the options are, and one of them would include the town taking an active part in providing that infrastructure as part of their taxation services, like we provide water and sewer to some of our residents.
Yeah, I agree. And so, I mean, I'm very close to this issue because of the work that I do privately, but, I do a lot of network deployments in large cities across, and that's part of my other job, my day job. But there's a great example of what you're talking about, Vicky, is there's a small rural town in Idaho that they were just so rural and so spread out population-wise that they weren't getting the attention that they felt that they needed from the private sector. So they built their own municipal fiber network, which is what we're talking about. I'll put a link in the chat to I don't know if this shows up on TV, but it does. Great.
Yes, it does.
So there's an article, and there's examples of this across the country where underserved communities who do not have broadband access, either as you were describing, they either build the development of a network into their property tax scheme, or they are the recipient of federal grants to build out that. That's a possibility, but unfortunately here in Amenia, according to the FCC, who, that's the metric that a lot of what determines where federal funds go to. According to the FCC, broadband is available to the vast majority of residents in the town of Amenia. If you go to the FCC website, there's a map that shows broadband coverage. According to that map, we have 5 broadband providers here in the town of Amenia. And, unfortunately, that would cut us out of a lot of the grant funding that's available to communities that are, not served at all. So it's doable, but as you indicated, it's a cost. I would not suggest that we form a committee to, sort of field complaints about a private service provider's service here in the town. But
Okay, Dawn, did you have anything else?
No, well, I do. So I'm gonna let
Chicken barbecue, maybe?
you guys are all okay. I'm going to let her know that they can contact her. And then for anyone that is here watching tonight, or when it re-airs and it's in the morning, our volunteer application form is under our website under town documents, and you go to forms and go all the way down to the bottom, and that's where your volunteer form is. If you're unable to find it or complete it, I also welcome an email. That email will then be shared with the town board should you wish to serve on this committee or any of our committees that currently do exist. Sometimes they are rolling, so I would encourage anyone who wants to volunteer in the town of Amenia to reach out so I can share your name and information with the board to get you started. And our committees are, and I guess I'm beating a dead horse with this one. Our committees all have been assigned town emails. And I guess I bring that up because I was reached out by a volunteer who wants me to add her email as a point of contact when trying to conduct town business. So just as a friendly reminder to everyone that is watching, the town is not only assigning you with a town email address, the town is also paying for you to have your town email address. So I'm going to encourage and remind everyone to please use their Amenia NY email addresses when conducting town business.
You're back? Okay.
And you're welcome to reach out to any of your town board members.
Okay. Go lay down.
You do reach out to BAS at any time you need, and they'll be there to assist you. This month, if
Is Toby in?
each of you liaisons, when you're going to your town meetings, if you would please remind that to the volunteers. And to bring up our April, and as we are here, and this is not an April Fool's joke, because this is for real, the Easter Bunny is coming to Amenia this Saturday at Beekman Park. So note the location change. It's Beekman Park. It is where all of our baseball fields are. And you're going to be broken up by group category and then the different fields. There's going to be activities there. Kelly's worked very hard on this event. So I would like to make sure it's out there. Saturday, April 3rd. It's a free event. Easter Bunny's coming. It's a rain or shine event. Come see the Easter Bunny. And after you're done with all of your sugar, next Saturday, the Amenia Fire Company, they're having their chicken barbecue. If anyone needs any tickets, feel free to give us a call here at the town clerk's office, 373-8860, or you can contact Sean Howard at 418-8633. That'll conclude the town clerk's report for April 1st. Victoria, you're going to be starting with resolution number 25 this evening.
Resolution authorizing amended consent judgment for the settlement of the tax cert proceeding regarding Heathcote Farm LLC. Whereas there is now pending in the Dutchess County Supreme Court a tax cert proceeding commenced in 2020 by Heathcote Farm LLC regarding property located on Smithfield Valley Road, tax map number 696800, 690809-0000, seeking a reduction in the 2020 assessment for the respective tax roll. Whereas the town assessor and the attorney to the town recommended a settlement on this tax review proceeding, whereas by resolution number 52 of 2020, the town board of the town of Amenia authorized and approved a settlement on behalf of the town of Amenia for the tax review proceeding for the year 2020, as it pertains to the parcel identified as tax map number 696800, 690809-0000 as follows. Year of assessment 2020, original total assessment $1,350,000, revised total assessment $975,000, reduction $375,000. Whereas a proposed consent judgment reflecting the terms of the settlement was provided to the Dutchess County Finance Department for approval prior to being entered as a final judgment. Whereas DCFD requested certain amendments, in particular the inclusion of the agricultural and forest land tax exemptions to be included in the taxable assessed value of the property to approve the consent judgment. Whereas an amendment consent judgment was prepared by the petitioner reflecting the amendments made by DCFD. Now therefore be it resolved that the town board of the town of Amenia hereby approves the amended consent judgment as annexed hereto for the settlement of the tax review proceeding for the year 2020 on behalf of the town of Amenia as it pertains to the parcel identified as tax map number 6968006908090000 as follows. Year of assessment 2020, original assessment $1,350,000, original taxable AV 274,983, settlement assessment 975,000, settlement taxable AV 203,266, final tax AV $203,266. And be it further resolved that the town supervisor, town assessor, and E&C Lindars, Stanger, Diamond and Glass LLP attorneys at town of Amenia are hereby authorized to take all actions necessary and appropriate to effectuate the terms of this resolution. Is there a motion?
I'll make
I
a
make-
motion.
I make a motion that we accept that resolution. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I'll second.
That was you, Doyle?
I'll second. I have a question though, for discussion.
Go ahead.
Ask my question. Okay, so this is for the year 2020. Do we have to pay any? It does not retroactively go back, right? It's just going forward from 2020 forward.
Correct.
Thank you.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yeah.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes,
Smoji?
Yes.
Resolution number 26, resolution authorizing revocable license agreement to Northeast Central School District. Whereas the Northeast Central School District baseball fields are currently under construction, unavailable for the 2021 high school varsity baseball season. Whereas the school district is requesting the use of Town of Amenia's baseball fields for the high school varsity baseball program for the 2021 season. Whereas the school district is requesting the use of the fields for all practices and scheduled home games for the 2021 high school varsity baseball season. Whereas the town acknowledges the school district's efforts in providing an outstanding baseball program to the youth of the town of Amenia. Whereas the town would like to support the school district's high school varsity baseball program by permitting the school district to use its baseball fields. Whereas the town is the owner of certain real property located in the town of Amenia, New York, identified on tax grid number 706700974-260, having an address of 5270 Route 44 in the town of Amenia, New York, 12501, commonly known as Beekman Park. Whereas the town board of the town of Amenia would like to grant a revocable license agreement to the school district for the high school varsity baseball program to use the baseball field known as the Doc Bartlett Field located in Beekman Park in accordance with the terms and conditions set forth in the revocable license agreement annexed here too. Now therefore be it resolved that one, the recitations set forth above are incorporated in this resolution as if fully set forth and adopted herein. Two, the town board acknowledges that they have read the terms and conditions set forth in the aforementioned revocable license agreement and hereby accepts the terms, conditions, and obligations as set forth in said agreement, a copy of which is annexed here too. Three, the town supervisor is hereby directed and authorized to execute the revocable license agreement by and on behalf of the town of Amenia in substantially the same form as annexed here too. Or the town supervisor is hereby directed to provide a copy of the revocable license agreement signed by all parties, the recreation supervisor, and to the town clerk, who shall maintain the same in her files. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilpersons Doyle?
Yes.
Gutierrez?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes,
Smoji?
Yes.
Ian, did you want to talk about the Little League charter that the Recreation Commission was looking to do?
Sure. So I after
And
last
how they're
meeting,
usually set up?
yeah. So after the last meeting, I went and I called Fred Cantor to find out a little more information about what currently exists and what's going on in the town.
Do you want to explain who he is so people know?
He is the District 17. He's the district-wide director for basically all of Little League in this area. And so currently there is the Taconic Little League. That is a Little League program that's run. It does cover currently Amenia, as well as a couple other municipalities. And then in conjunction with that, we also have Town of Amenia Rec Baseball. So right now, Town of Amenia has a rec league, and anybody can participate in that. But if anybody wants to participate in Little League, they can actually participate through Taconic. So the program already kind of exists. So I guess the discussion was trying to get Amenia to separate from Taconic to create and form their own league, which I didn't understand why they wanted to do that. What I've been told is that what it will do is provide essentially a little bit better organization around the games. It creates more games for the kids and better competition, which is basically the whole purpose of why they were trying to do it. What happened is it looked like from the conversation that the Rec Commission was trying to be the one who chartered with Little League to do this. That is not the way I've ever seen it done. I talked to Fred Cantor. He's never had anybody under him who's done that. He's only heard of one other place who he thought had done it under a Rec Commission. So it's just, I've never seen it like that. And I think there's reasons why, based on my research. There's a number of different comptroller opinions about this, and they all recommend that it not be done this way for various different reasons. What I think is the predominant reason is that if the Rec Commission is forming the organization, right, and obtaining the charter from Little League, Little League has its own constitution, its own bylaws, its own rules, own regs, its own board of directors.
Own insurance.
Own insurance. And one of the things that's also buried in there is all the fundraising and soliciting. Like, you've never seen a Little League that doesn't have somebody's name on a shirt, right? So a Rec Commission can't do that. They can't do that. So what you normally see is you would have a not-for-profit agency or some other organization, a conglomerate of parents that will obtain the charter. They obtain the charter. They hold the insurance. They have an agreement with the town similar to the agreement that we just had with the school district. It's a service agreement that they would basically administer the town's Little League program. They'd have the insurance. We would be named as an additional insured. There'd be indemnity language in there. There'd be an outline of what services they're providing, what services the town is providing.
And they would be able to fundraise.
And they could fundraise because as long as it's got to be completely and separate from the Rec Commission. Because again, the Rec Commission's powers are delegated and provided from town board. Town board can't solicit. Town board can't fundraise. So that's why I think it's never really been done like that. So if my understanding now, after talking with Kelly, is that it's probably not going to happen this year just because of the time frame of it. But going forward, if the town is interested in doing something like this, then there should be an organization that's created to take that on. And if that's what the town wants to do, and then we can make those decisions down the line. But at least then the formation of it would be set up, and then we can have an agreement whereby you would have the services laid out, who's doing what, how they're doing it. And the town can, in that instance, contract with a private organization so long as they are administering the program to all town residents and the municipality maintains its level of control over the program. And that's essentially the structure of why it's set up.
Why do you say we have to fundraise for it? Because in the past, we've had Little League before, and just from memory, we put money in the budget for uniforms. As I recall, sitting at that Recreation Commission meeting, they said there's no uniform required. There's like a T-shirt maybe that they give you because you pay a fee or something to be in it. But they didn't mention that you had to fundraise. I'm just curious. And I also don't know why we would have to run it through why the commission. It would be the town of Amenia who would be doing the little, getting a charter for the Little League. We've done this in the past, and it wasn't a big deal. I mean, it costs more because you had to pay for the umps, you had to pay for the special insurance and follow their rules. But
not a single other town does that. Not a single other town does that. It's just not done because of.
And besides, the insurance is over $1,000.
Correct.
You always had to pay for that. Okay, I just curious because I could swear that we had it in our budget and it was expensive, but we said, well, it's Little League and it's important. But I guess if we can't do it, we can't do it.
And we never have.
No.
But we're already part of the Taconic Little League.
Exactly.
Correct.
I don't have any more clarity this meeting than I did the last one. I'm still fundamentally confused as to what is the motivation to leave the Little League that we're already in. Did you get any insight into that, Ian?
Form their own.
The insight, Damien, and I'm equally confused by it. I'm not 100% understanding of it, but when I spoke with Fred and when I've spoke with Kelly, the idea is that there's more home games, they have better competition, and the organization's already there, right? Because it's a private organization, the whole thing is set up. So that's it. That's it. And right now, I didn't see that as a huge plus personally, even though I don't really have a say in the matter. But you already have rec ball and the opportunity to do Little League. It seems like the town's in a great position because they have the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And also the town we do have it in our budget for the Little League and the baseball games that we do offset the cost for a lot of things so that we can keep the cost down for the participants in our town who wish to play. And I guess we get them from various corners of the town area, so that by the town putting in its budget a certain amount of money, it offsets the cost of like the baseballs and the bats and the helmets that they sometimes have to replace, and any of the sports gear, and I think the fees that the students players pay goes for their caps and their T-shirts and stuff, and I think at the end for their little awards and things that they give out. So I know the town does in our budget offset the cost to the parents of the children in Little League with enough funds to make it run, and so that we keep the cost down, because we want as many children to participate as possible. Boys and girls are participating in these games now, and I think it's I don't listen, it ain't broke, why are we fixing it? That's my quote for the year. So
well, I think that's to Damien's point, and we can discuss structure and how we can structure it and some of the implications. There's a lot of legal implications of a town or a rec commission doing it. That's why it's just not done that way.
But we're not going to be doing it anyway, so we don't really need to spend any more time on it.
But the issue, I think, was, why, and the why just seems to be more games, better competition, and a better organized. That's what I've been told.
Okay, and under other matters, Vicki, you sent a town board report. Do you want to go through that?
I don't have it in front of me, but I can get it. Let's see. I sent it to you all. Let's see. Well, cleanup day is Saturday, the 24th of April, on basically Earth Day weekend, and from 9 to noon. It's sponsored by the Conservation Advisory Council, and it's also by the Enhancement Committee, and volunteers can show up that day if they want to have garbage bags. We have some contractor bags that I plant in Fountain Square at M&T Bank. So you can help yourself to some contractor bags if you're going out and picking up litter that morning. Or you can go down to Wasik Borden Park across from Maxim Mills and pick up some garbage bags there. If you need help getting your litter, once the bags are filled, to the transfer station, you can give me or Damien a call. My number is 845-489-7826. And I'll let Damien, let's see, Damien, do you have your phone number?
Yeah, it's 845-321-4226. Also, just on that note, in case I run out of, my truck isn't very big, but in case I run out of room, if anybody has a utility trailer, like with a ball hitch that they'd be willing to lend for the day for the cause, my truck is insured. Let us know, and it would be much appreciated.
So that is the big push right now is between the Enhancement Committee and the Conservation Advisory Council to get as many people out into neighborhoods, into the Wassaic and Amenia Hamlet proper. The Smithfield Valley Association is likely going to join us, and they're going to have their own group in the Smithfield Valley. But if you want to adopt your own little neighborhood, or I thought Michelle Smodgny, if you have some volunteers who'd want to pick up some garbage around Tally Ho.
We have a very clean park. We pick up our garbage already. We don't have any.
I was going to say, it's immaculate. So that's great. There's a lot of groups that do this on a regular basis. And I will do a shout out to Tally Ho. It's clean as a whistle. I have a volunteer across the street who walks every day, and they pick up, and it's absolutely beautiful. Maplebrook School does their section of Route 22 on a regular basis, at least they have in the past. So we don't expect them to suddenly come out and help everybody else, but I will say there's a lot of groups that do keep their neighborhoods clean. We do have, we are looking into the Lions Club. They think they will be doing a cleanup as well. They usually do Delaware Hill, but we could probably use some help. There are stretches of town that are particularly bad, and the Amenia Highway Department is going to assist with some informal dumping that's happening on actually town land. So if you know of some spot that is a particularly typical bad spot, you can give me a call or Damien a call, or just let us know that day, and we'll try and get to it, because we all know of spots that are bad. The CAC met on the 30th, and they they joined a Zoom meeting with the Dutchess County CACs and EMCs through Cornell Cooperative Extension, and they gave a report about their activities. That I think you got that in my report. We have, all the towns do, the CACs, a lot of CACs, let's just say, do a cleanup day on Earth Day. I didn't know that, but we've been doing this for a long time, and it was good to share this sort of thing. We have asked if there's a way that the town can be more proactive about keeping litter to a minimum. We'd be interested in hearing about that. We've never been able to institute fines. We've never put up signs that say, illegal. It's illegal in Amenia to litter, and fines are $250. I don't know why it is that isn't possible. Maybe it's because of enforcement. Is that right, Victoria? We've constantly told people it's not possible to enforce it.
Well, we can look into putting no littering signs in whatever areas are the worst offenders. But it's difficult to enforce, but there's no reason you can't put the signage up, and if we can track down someone who's a chronic person who's dumping and littering, we can file a notice against them.
I was thinking,
and bring them to court if necessary.
Yeah, I was going to ask Association of Towns if it's possible to actually have neighbors put up web cameras that might help catch typical polluters, because we know there are specific people that drink a certain kind of beer and they always throw it out at a certain place. So daily we see this pattern existing, and I want to make sure that we don't violate any civil liberties by trying to trap these people, because it feels unfair that we have to constantly pick up after repeat offenders. So
Vicky, I don't think there's any civil liberty that entitles you to drink beer in your car and throw it out your car window while you're driving. And it's Bud Light Tall Boys, by the way, just in case you. I picked them up on the side of the road myself.
Yep. There's all kinds out there, you know.
So we will, CAC is on this. They are investigating and trying to figure out, you know, I can envision like a neighborhood watch signs that say, you know, we're proactive, we've got cameras, here's the fines, litter at your own risk. You've been warned, but that might be too aggressive.
I think so.
At any rate, we're looking into it and seeing what we might do to deal with this. CAC is holding in-person meetings now on the third Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock at the town hall, and we'll be following COVID-19 protocols.
Vicky, I have a question just on the sort of what our town code permits. I think the last time we talked about this, we talked about what fines are actually in our code. I'm looking at E-code right now. You know, I see a couple of sections where, you know, violating the open storage of junk or abandoned vehicles, rubbish, debris.
Right.
Like, you know, the limit of the fine is $250. I think that maybe we as a board could discuss making those fines really onerous. Like if we want to try to discourage this behavior, because, you know, not to exceed.
The problem, Damien, is you have to catch them.
Yep.
I mean, you can make the fine as onerous as you want. You have to catch the people doing it.
Yeah, sure, but I mean there's two parts to a law, right? There's the theory of it, and its purpose to serve in deterring behavior, and then there's the enforcement of it once it's been violated. Those are two separate things.
Well, you're talking about the practical problem when you have a town geographically as large as Amenia is. It's very difficult to do it. I'm all for imposing penalties as much as you want, and maybe we should make them a little bit stiffer, maybe a lot stiffer. I don't know, but until you can really find a way to enforce this stuff, it's really difficult. I've had the same experiences myself on Separate Road with a guy dumping up bags of garbage on my property.
Yeah, look, I mean, I agree with you, Jim, but to Vicky's point, there's more and more people out there that have doorbell cameras. There's a lot of people who, you buy a new car, a lot of them come with like built-in dash cam cameras that, you know, like, I mean, there's opportunity to be able to try and identify this sort of behavior, to have some, let's put it this way, if a town resident came to us with proof, you know, some video recording or something, it's like, this is my doorbell camera. I caught this truck with the license plate that's right there, throwing a refrigerator off into the ravine on Deep Hollow, whatever. You know, if the best that we can do is a $200 fine in that scenario where we have verifiable proof, that's not really, you know.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that the fine for something like that should be a whole lot more than $250.
I also know that there are signs of like different groups, Boy Scouts, and I don't know whoever they might be. They put these signs up saying we clean this road or pick up the trash on this road. Do you know those little signs that I'm talking about? They're scattered about the county and stuff.
adopt the highway. But
Adopt
that's
the
very
highway.
passive, and it's very nice to give them credit. But what we want to do is the really bad offenders, repeat offenders that we all, some citizens have to deal with every day because we can't bear to drive past a dumping grounds. We really want to do something proactive against the people, the few who are making it horrible for the rest of us, right?
And like Jim says, you've got to catch who he is. Who he is. Is it Joe Blow or Mary Louise or whoever it is? You really have to catch them. You have to have documentation, and you have to be able to prove that they did it.
Cameras are the best way. Cameras would, with a date, time stamp.
To add into this, I just want to chime in because our residents that are watching can know that if they do see somebody and they are observing somebody dump, that they can call DEC or they can call the sheriff's office to file the report. I did take in, it's just weird that you're bringing this up, but last month, I did take a complaint. Somebody called as they were watching somebody dump at the famous dumping spot right there on Old Route 22 between Railroad Avenue and Depot Hill, the big old parking lot. And as she's calling, it just pure coincidence. I had a DEC officer here in the office, and he literally ran out and he tried to catch them, and he just missed it. But we were able to see that a brand new bed was dumped, a kid's rolly toy, and it was able to at least take that complaint. So if anybody is observing littering going on and you're watching them do this, if you feel safe that you can get a license plate or at least the make and model of the car, the time and date, and you want to make that complaint, feel free to call your sheriff's department or your DEC, and you can make said complaint. And they do get heard, and they have gone through court. So, I mean, to know that it does happen, but it does start, do we have harsh enough fines? That's something the board can discuss as you are. But just for the individuals to know that that's who you file those complaints with.
I think those are great ideas, and I appreciate the feedback. On the CAC's on the CAC's activities, they filed a report to the 10 Mile River Watershed Management Plan that's been spearheaded by HVA and the 10 Mile River collaborative group that we have that's up and down Route 22. And the projects that we wanted listed for inclusion that may be grant funded in the future is the first one was install a pedestrian amenities and educational signage at the old Amenia landfill on Route 22. We envisioned a grand opening at some point of this reclaimed Superfund site as a public park, and the information would help people understand, the importance of protecting our waters and our drinking water and our health from toxic dump sites like that. The second project was move the salt pile and salt shed at the Amenia Highway Garage, the current one on Borden Lane, which is in a floodplain. It's literally behind Pauling Corp, and move it to the new highway garage property on Route 22. If we could find funding for that, we'd be thrilled. Create handicapped accessible entrance to the Wasatch Playground and fishing access to the Wasatch Creek, which was something that Parkitects had suggested, and it's rather modest project. For recreation, we need to approve Chris May's skateboard lessons beginning on Saturday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the basketball courts on East Main.
Ian, could you speak to that, please? Chris May.
So again, here, this is a private individual who is looking to run a program in the town or perhaps for the town. My recommendation when you have these types of setups is that this is memorialized with a service agreement, because he is providing service for the town, and a license agreement for him to operate on town property so he can do these things. There's a lot of liability with skateboarding and potentials for liability. And I think that have an agreement whereby the insurance provisions are laid out, the indemnification provisions are laid out, services are being laid out, what he is providing, what we are providing, who's responsible for what. Those types of items, in case of accident, would be, I think, extremely helpful for the town with regards to liability on these types of programs.
Do we have, just because it's a high-risk sport, is that what you're saying? Because we haven't done that
No.
for, like, say, the dance instructor or the,
Karate.
volunteer karate person or the volunteer fitness instructor.
There should be agreements in place for these. It's very similar to Little League. It's a smaller scale, but it's a private entity. It's not, the town is having somebody come in and run a business, and he's getting paid on it, on town property. That there should be a license agreement. There should be some outline of what's going on there.
So some service agreement.
Correct.
So Ian, we don't want to have to ask a lawyer to have to draft. Is there a way to do a sort of generic services agreement, some like master services agreement for this type of engagement?
So the one that I've worked on for the school district, it has basic provisions in it, but the outlining the scope of who's doing what with any agreement is, I think, vital for the town and protecting the town.
Yes.
So we have a situation where this guy wants to do this, and there's not a problem. But if there's monies being paid, if there's services being provided, they need to be outlined. And
I mean, look, we had the farmers market operate on town property for over a decade. I don't think we had anything other than their signature on a form to agree to pay $25 or whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
Would that sort of thing also require?
There can be voluntary. There can be other documents and forms that we can kind of create for certain different programs. But with each program, it needs to be evaluated. This is a skateboard program. The likelihood someone could fall or get hurt on town's property. It looks like he's got a set schedule he's going to be running. I don't know if it's going to be on the basketball courts, right? I don't know if he's on the basketball courts. I don't know if anyone else is being excluded from the basketball courts when he's doing that. If he's got skateboards on there, somebody falls on a skateboard and that thing shoots out, hits somebody else who's participating. There's so many different liability issues to it. It's a huge concern for me.
Our insurance company has said it's a covered activity under our existing insurance.
Right.
So I understand we pay $54,000 for insurance. And if we've got to pay an additional $5,000 to create service agreements for every single volunteer who wants to step forward and do a fitness class, it's really kind of crazy because we're paying for it. But I'm not an expert. I'll just say that Jim Morris, do you have any sense of how much more legal documentation we need for a program like this to go forward?
I would have to look at the insurance policy, and I've never seen it. But if
Okay, we already
also
checked
being
with the
run on
insurance.
town-
The insurance isn't the problem.
These programs are being run on town parks, and they're being run by private entities who are making money on this. That's a problem. You can't. You got to have it.
A lot of money. They are. It's basically a volunteer. Let me tell you, for $2,500, he's not making any money by spending.
The dance instructor is a great example, Vicky. Right? Like we've paid that person.
They're not making money. They're volunteering.
Historically, we've paid those people very little, but they run programs on town property that are covered by our insurance. But yeah, okay, they're physical activities by nature. I don't know. I mean, I don't want us to be paralyzed by fear of stuff that's already covered by our insurance. So,
Damien, let me just say this. It doesn't really matter how much you're paying these people. But the reason why I said I wanted to see the insurance policy is because I want to know whether it covers something like this. You just don't know until you read it.
we asked them.
Our agent.
You may have asked them, but I want to read it myself as a lawyer before I take anybody else's word for it.
Why don't
Okay?
we have you read it, Jim, and put this.
I'll be happy to do that.
Okay,
I'll be happy to do that.
all right.
It's not just a liability issue. This is a town park that you are now allowing an individual to run a money-making program on. It's a town park. So
Yeah, we've done that all the time. We do that for karate. We've done that for the dance program. We've done, I mean,
ultimately, it's a decision of the town board. My recommendation would be that you have some sort of service agreement and license agreement in place, memorializing what they're using that town park for.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. We don't have a clear handle on exactly what's happening, who's doing it, how's it's working. It just sort of like was dropped on us. And the intent, I know the intent was good. The interest of the people doing it's very good. But we have to protect the town of Amenia. We have to be certain that when we allow people to come and participate in any kind of a program, whether it be dance or karate or lawn bowling, whatever, that we have all our ducks in a row and everything is covered for us so that town is protected. The people of Amenia need to be protected, and we need to know the answers before we do a lot of things.
That's fair, Michelle, but like we organize busing for the senior program. Like we don't have, does our insurance cover that? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that the town does to make life better for residents here in town.
Well, but we have busing. Busing is in our budget, so it's covered.
Sure.
It's covered. That's all covered. That's covered for it.
I think the difference is, we're talking about is an outside company providing this
service. Yes.
These are parks. This is your park, which is supported and funded by public funds. You have a private entity coming in and running a business on it. That's not right. You can't do that. That's why these agreements are in there. So if the municipality likes the skateboard program, it's a great program. It's fantastic. They should have in place. They should be.
Ian, it's a rec sponsored program in the same way that summer camp is, right? Like
summer camp is not a rec sponsored program. Was never with Recreation Commission.
It's a town program.
Town of Amenia's.
Well, let's not get off the subject here. We're talking about skateboard.
No, but hold on a second. I'm making a point. Like,
go ahead, Jim.
Pay those summer camp instructors. We pay them money. They're making money off of a town program. This ostensibly is a town-sponsored skateboard program. We're not even paying this person. This person is making money off grant money grant that they secured.
I don't think that makes any difference, Damien. I think, why don't we just not beat this to death? Let me look at the policy.
Yes.
And I'll talk to Ian about it, and we'll come up with something, okay?
I agree. Yes,
Really
Jim, I agree with you.
That, Jim. Thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have. Housing Board has already made its report, and we're trying to get our minutes to Dawn Marie in a format that can be put on the website. Thank you.
Hey, is there any other town board comments?
I would actually like to request a quick moment of silence. We lost a important member of the community. Donna Whalen passed on the 25th. I attended her service this morning, and I would just like to ask for a quick moment of silence to honor her passing.
Oh, I'd like to add a quick moment of silence for the 5 individuals in Tally Ho who passed away just this month.
Thank you for that. That's all I have.
Okay, then.
Jim, I'll get you Byron's information so you can get a copy of our insurance.
Well, he can ask for it himself.
Does he have the information?
I don't have the information.
I'll get it to you.
Okay, thanks.
Well, he can call Byron and talk to him directly too.
I'll just give him his email so that you can email him.
Just get me the information and I'll contact the guy and get the policy.
I'm getting it to
Okay.
you.
Make a motion to go into executive session for proposed
Second.
or threatened litigation
I'll second the
regarding
motion.
Glen Avenue and Imodium and further contract negotiations with Altice. And the town clerk is excused
It's 8:39 PM.
with the town attorney.
Supervisor Perotti,
Yes.
Councilmembers Doyle,
Yes.
Gutierrez,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Samoji,
Yes.
and Supervisor Perotti, you'll provide the minutes?
Yes.
Thank you.